fire dance when I was a different person. I can probably vouch for being a bit of an arsehole. And so I wasn't really into connecting too much with people. And then Mary came to the dance this year, and we just connected so beautifully. She is a woman of immense knowledge that I know. What she knows, I don't know, but I know she has immense knowledge. We've had such a good connection this year. We recently saw each other in North Carolina when we were at the North Carolina fire dance, and she was a wisdom keeper, and I danced, and she was so there and so compassionate, and even though I didn't see that she was there, I could feel when she was with me, helping me through whatever process I was going through. So my Michigander friend, all the way from Michigan, who I love so dearly, I want to welcome you to come and share some of your knowledge. Thank you. Mary Standing Otter.
I wanted to start with that piece because the plants are the teachers of the giveaway. The plants are the teachers of how to release and let go and seek light at the same time, to just give things away. They give us the very air that we breathe. So we say in the old way that in the beginning of all things, when Grandfather Sun made love to Grandmother Earth, the firstborn were the plant children. And the plant children work with us in many ways, and the plant children live in clans. When we look at the earth from this perspective, and all of us who live on this earth, and that includes the stones and the plants and the animals, etc., we see all of it as one great family, and that there are clans within this family, but we are all one family. So the plants live in 5 separate clans, if you will, and they work with us in different ways, and they gift us in different ways, and we interact with them in different ways. So as opposed to standing up here and trying to lecture too much, which frankly I'm not that comfortable with, I'm much better in conversations. So I'm going to start talking, and please wave hands and stop me and ask questions and all of those things. I would much rather be speaking to what it is you want to know than be up here just chattering at you, all right? So I'm going to start with the first clan. The first clan of the plant world are the grasses and the grains. They hold the skin of Grandmother Earth. We say they are Grandmother Earth's hair. And they hold the skin in place, and they hold her whole, which holds everything inside. So it is the grasses and the grains that give the earth her shape and help her to hold her shape. The herbs and the shrubs are part of Grandmother Earth's body, and they feed our bodies. This is where most medicines come from, is from herbs and from shrubs. That's what heals us. That's the Western clan, is the herbs and shrubs. The Northern clan is the, somebody help me. Oh, the fruits and the flowers. Thank you, Kurt. You can be there and be my cue card. Are the fruits and the flowers. And then the Eastern clan is what we call the Great Standing Nation, or the trees. Interestingly enough, shamans who can see well visually will tell you that of all the creatures on this earth, which creature or living thing would you think has an aura the most similar to a human's? Trees, absolutely trees. Often people guess gorillas or chimpanzees or orangutans. They think of those kinds of traits. But it's actually trees. Their auric field is almost identical to our auric field in its structure, and in the way that our energetic self projects down into the earth and connects, and our physical substance holds us here. There's also the part that goes up and out and reaches. So the Great Standing Nation are our brothers and sisters in a very deep way, and we're very close to that clan. They are the lungs of Grandmother Earth. They give us all of the air that we breathe primarily, and we give them the air that they breathe. We are so intimately connected with the plants on levels that we don't even realize. And that once we begin to realize that, you taste food differently. It feels different to you. A tiny little leaf of spinach suddenly is as succulent as a big hunk of an orange. You know, when you tune into that energy of the plant world and you start to feel that interaction, it becomes richer and incredibly sensual. It's amazing. And in the most beautiful way, please understand, in the most beautiful and loving and nurturing way. And then in the center of this medicine wheel is what we call the teacher plants. Now, I'm going to use this. Hey, I'm going to use this. Human beings, there's a medicine wheel that I like to call the Human Being's Owner's Manual. Because if we all knew this when we were born, we'd be so much happier our entire lives. But our emotional self sits in the self, and it's meant to give. That's all. It's not meant to determine what kind of day we're going to have. It's not meant to decide whether something is good or bad. We are here to love each other. And we are here to express our individuality. We're here to give energy. Energy in motion, emotion. That's all it's meant to do. Over here is where we transform. And this is what happens in our physical body. We take in food, we take out of the food what we need, and we release from our body what we don't need. We transform. It's magic. We actually eat sunlight. When we eat plants, that's what's feeding us, is the sunlight, is the spirit essence of the plant, or the animals, whatever it is we eat. Here is where we receive, and this is the mind. Your mind is not meant to decide how you live your life. Your mind is meant to be a puzzle solver. It's meant to bring in information and decide whether that information is helpful or not helpful, pitch this, keep that, whatever. But we're not really meant to make our decisions from our brain. Here's one of the ways we all can relate to this probably is how many times in your life have you made a list of pros and cons about something that you should do? You know, should I do so-and-so, and here's the pros, here's all the reasons why I should, and here's all the reasons why I shouldn't. And how many times you actually go with a stupid list? Okay, you make the list and it helps you to think through all of the different things, but then the decision comes when you pitch the list and you feel down in your belly or down in your body and you say, but it's this, and maybe I don't know why, but this is where I need to go. That's called determining with spirit. And that comes over here. We only use this word, it's all jargon, and you could use any word you wanted to. It's not that. The words don't matter, so please don't let yourself get hung up on the words. It's the concepts that are important. So we say this because we want to distinguish between spirit determination and decision. A decision is a head process. So you need a head process, but that's not necessarily how you should decide your spiritual path, is through your head process. And then in the center is the catalyst. And this is what, in English, according to my teacher, there is no real word for this energy. So it's called ki, it's called chi, it's called prana. In Old Cherokee, it's called chulukoi kwidoshka. But what it means is spiritual, sexual, soul force energy. It's a lot of words that we don't have a single one to use. All those things are all tied together. Our sexuality is tied to our creativity and vice versa. And I don't just mean babies. I mean that it is a sexual process to engage and meld with a piece of clay to the point where it becomes a sculpture. Or a piece of music, where it becomes a work of art as opposed to just mathematics. That is a sexual process. And it takes all the dirtiness, or all of the darkness, or all of the whatever words you want out of sexuality. But this is what it is. It's that spiritual, sexual soul force that is our creativity, that burns, it's the fire that burns inside of us and pushes us onward. So, those plant clans that I was talking about, each one of these plant clans work with different aspects here. So we have grasses and grains that work here. We have herbs and shrubs that form and do a lot of that transform what goes on in our bodies in terms of medicines. That's where our medicines come from. Fruits and flowers up here. My teacher used to say, look around you at any event where there's a ton of emotion. What do you see? Flowers everywhere. Whether it's a funeral or a wedding, it doesn't matter whether it's joyful emotion, whether it's sadness, it doesn't matter. Flowers, the actual scent of flowers comes from the fact that the flower is dying. So the flower is absorbing negativity and dying in order to give off that scent. And that is what brings the healing. It calms the emotions. It heals us. Fruits do it for the body, flowers do it for our spirit and for our psyche. In the East is, this is where the Standing Nation is. And they are the ones that teach us about spirit, about staying rooted and balanced in the earth, about being present for what's going on around us, participating in our community, taking care of where we live, taking care of our children, not letting the little ones get strangled so they have no light. Trees monitor themselves. They grow connected under the earth. They are often one being. In fact, the largest living being on the planet is an aspen grove. It's an aspen grove. It's a group of trees that are all actually one tree. And they spread themselves out so that other trees can grow and the entire grove can stay healthy that way. Wolves function the same way in the animal world. They practice birth control, actually. So they are the determiners, those trees. They guide us in spirit. A lot of the ceremony that we do in the lineage that I come from, which I haven't told you anything about, so I guess I can if you want later. But in the lineage that I come from, we do a lot of ceremony with trees. It's called the flowering tree ceremony, and we go and sit with the tree with our back to the tree, and we ask certain questions, and we do it around the tree, and we do it over and over and over and over. And even the most advanced teachers in the lineage that I am from, when they go through their highest level ceremonies and they're finished, they get sent out to go do flowering tree ceremonies. Go back to the trees. Always we're being sent back to the trees. The trees are one of the most healing places you can go to let go of emotional debris. The whole idea of tree huggers is a really good one. It seriously is, and it works. You wrap your arms around a tree and from your navel send, whether you feel this is true or nuts, I just ask you to try it one time. And pick the right tree, okay? Around here, make sure it's not thorny or something. We don't have to worry about that so much where I live. But you wrap your arms around the tree and truly let yourself embrace and feel the tree. Sink into it for a few minutes until you really feel connected to the tree. Then from your navel, send fibers into the tree and start asking it to take whatever it is that you no longer want. It's the most powerful if you say it out loud. People don't like to do that, they feel silly. Guess what? The world won't end if you feel silly. I've gone out on ceremony and done more things that I thought were stupid, and I'm still here. Shaking rattles and yelled things that I thought, why the hell am I doing this? You know? But it works. It worked in the end, and so I decided I don't care because it works. And that's a very true story. Remember being out there thinking, oh, I'm so glad no one I know can see me right now. It's the first time I ever called in ancestors. I was freaked out. So, and that was about 30 years ago. And I'm still doing it, so it must have something. So I got lost. Where was I? So giving away into the tree and letting the tree take it. And the tree will take it down into the earth. And it will take it up into the sky, and it will release it. It doesn't damage the tree, because trees are bridges, just like we are. We are bridges between earth and sky, between substance and spirit. So humans are bridges, trees are bridges, and the tree will take that and disperse it in both ways. And then to honor those things, we always leave some sort of a gift. And if you have nothing else, it can be a piece of hair, or corn, paho or cornmeal or tobacco or flour, any natural thing that would nourish the tree. Yeah?
Sorry, I might be over-intellectualizing it, but you said like we are the bridge between spirit and
substance.
Substance. Is that our purpose? Is that the purpose of our body? Is that the purpose of getting the human mechanism aligned?
I'm smiling at you because when I asked my teacher that, he said, we have no purpose. We are here because we're here, because we're here, because we're here. And so we choose to give our lives a purpose. And that purpose is the pursuit of pleasure and knowledge and joy. Yeah. So any questions so far? Because I'm going to make a leap here in a minute. All right. Now I'm going to make a leap into the center, which is the catalyst. If you understand scientifically at all how catalyst works, which I'm sure you do, you know, a catalyst is something that makes something else happen, right? So any catalyst energy here is going to affect this, 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 and this. It's going to affect your heart, your body, your mind, and your spirit. This is the sitting place, or the place where teacher plants live. Is in the center of the medicine wheel. They are catalytic to every other aspect of who we are. They're catalytic to every other aspect of who we are. So, within our lineage, we are taught that they are to be given the utmost and the greatest respect. That they are to be handled ceremonially, only by people who know what they're doing, and only within very sacred context. And my teacher used to say never any more than once every 3 months. Now he included marijuana in that as well, which ruffles lots of people's feathers, but I'm just telling you what the teaching is. You can do with it as you choose, okay? And you don't have to report to me about it. But that this catalyzes things in all of these areas. And so this is why it becomes so very, very important that teacher plants are handled well, are handled correctly. They are a gift. They are a beautiful gift. My term for it always is they bring us glimpses of grace. Glimpses of grace. But it's not a place that we're meant to live. We're meant to go there and get a glimpse of what is possible, and then come back into this world and do what we call grow corn that feeds the children. Do the things that actually make a difference in the world for ourselves, for life, and for others. And then if we come to the place where we feel that call, if we are in sacred alignment with those teacher plants, they'll call us when we need them. We'll hear it. Or we'll communicate, we'll check in with them, and we'll know whether now is time for it or Now is not time. Another teaching about this in the lineage that I come from is, this is gonna sound a little technical, but if you've ever read Carlos Castaneda, this won't be brand new to you. But one of the pieces of knowledge that we've worked with was what's called the static assemblage point. It's a part of you that assembles your reality. It determines how much reality you're able to perceive and assimilate and make into a world that you understand, that you can live within. Because there's a lot going on around you that you don't see. That's true for all of us. That we're not able to assimilate. There's... Oops. It's all right. So, the assemblage point can, when we're born, the assemblage point lodges itself somewhere in the right chest. And as we grow, hopefully, as we grow wiser and as we grow spiritually, that point moves across the chest and down through the center. And this is where, when it hits here, is where our heart truly opens. Moves down the chakra line, and if we are an enlightened being, goes all the way down lower than the navel. And at that point, we are one with all things. This is a very long road. It's a very hard road to walk. It's the etheric or the spirit version of what you might have heard referred to as the good red road. This is the good red road. It's the way of gaining enlightenment through hard work and sweat and tears and love and facing our fears and all of the things that come with being human. All of the things that our soul dreamed us here to be. This is the red road. The blue road is when trauma happens repeatedly, most often. This point can move down the side of the body. This is called the blue road. And there are 4 steps. There's 11 steps on this road, I think. I'm not really worried about getting to all 11 in this lifetime, so I lose track, but I think it's 11. And on this side, there are 4. And they are things like catatonia and schizophrenia. This is where we've lost the plot, as my friend Elvis says. This is where we have lost our grounding in reality. The plant road, working with medicine plants, goes on a diagonal from here to about here. Then it joins with the red road. Here's what's interesting is, when it's in this place, on this yellow road, it's vibrating, it's alive, it's always vibrating and alive. Your SAP can always move. Given the circumstances, given the quality of ceremony that you're in, given the frequency, given your past history, your trauma, your psyche, who you are and why you are who you are, it can bounce from here to here, just as it could bounce from here to here. That's why ceremony is so important. That's why taking such good care of ourselves when using those plant medicines is essentially important. So please, this is my plea lately. I have found this entering my arena more and more lately. I've been invited to plant workings more and more. I've seen more and more. I've heard more and more horror stories. And I've heard a few good stories. But it seems to be there's a huge surgence in this right now. And so my plea or my request of all of you is to take good care of yourselves and be wise about it. I've done it, but I've done it carefully. I researched who I worked with. I visited before I took any plant medicine. And then I did the plant medicine. But I took very good care of myself throughout the process, and that was after being actively working towards being a shaman on a path for more than 17 years. I never touched it. I never needed it. Through working in the sweat lodge and through the medicine pipe and through other things, it didn't call to me. That isn't to say that my way is the right way and any other way is not. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that it is a great gift, like any huge, sharp sword, like anything that has a lot of power. It swings both ways. Please treat it like that. Please treat it like a big, sharp sword. And remember that when you're working with it, one of the reasons why is because it is this catalytic energy. Because if something is negative within that experience, excuse me, I still got fighting a cold. It's not just going to upset you for a couple days and go away. It's going to have to be cleansed from your heart, from your body, from your mind, and from your spirit before you will be back where you were and before you can move forward. So that's my pitch tonight about teacher plans. Because it feels like you just drop a big bomb on a room when you say things like that. Yes?
So the two different parts, I mean, if you already, I mean, in like a time context, I mean, if you already have lived a certain way, etc., and the trauma has, you know, had a negative effect, etc., and those things are manifesting, I mean, you go back, I mean, are you screwed? I mean,
No,
I'm
no.
saying, like,
You're not
how
screwed.
do you change? How does that change?
How does...
Not how, it's like physically, I mean, when one decides, I mean, one can still choose a different path, etc.
Yeah.
Yes, and then obviously the methods to get there will be shown to you.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're, you know, you're surrounded by tried and true methods. They're all around you. Sweat lodges, learning how to work with pipe ceremonies, doing meditations, going to silent retreats, yoga, martial arts. There is a well of information and of opportunities and of different ways to work with your healing all around you. There are so many choices that I don't understand how everybody doesn't make at least one. I really don't. How do you walk through the world and not do one of those? Because it's in your face all the time. I can't decide which ones to choose. Okay, so, I mean, I've trained, in my tradition, we are taught to train primarily on our path, but also to choose two others, so that we never feel like we have the one and only answer, the one and only way. And also so that it gives us perspective on the path that we are walking. So I've trained in Celtic medicine, I've trained as a Sangoma, I've trained with a Santerian Nigerian priestess, and it seems like there's one other, but I can't think of it right now. And but my main path is what's called the Twisted Hairs lineage, or the Sweet Medicine lineage. It's not traditional Native American. In other words, it's not Blackfoot or Cherokee or any one tribe. The Twisted Hairs were teachers who went from, over thousands and thousands of years, who went from one tribe to another, to another, to another, and learned. And they brought all that knowledge together and braided it together. They twisted, you know, hair representing knowledge. They braided it all together because a braid is always stronger than any one strand. So they brought this information together from North, South, Central America, and some from Australia and New Zealand. And over the years, it's also incorporated teachings of the Kabbalah and others. Primarily, it's presented and worked with in a Native American style, if you will. We use the Purification Lodge. We use dances. We use the medicine pipe, the sacred medicine pipe, and other kinds of things. And we use the languaging, because the teacher that brought it to me was 3/4 Native American and 1/4 Irish, which we used to give him a lot of trouble about. But anyway, yeah.
You mentioned 1 to 3 months in terms of teacher class. What is your take on microdosing with teacher class? I know it's trending recently where microdosing is part of the process.
Yeah, I don't have a position on that. I don't know enough about it to say anything intelligent or that I feel confident in. I would need to learn more about it myself first.
What is your position with using teacher class recreation?
For what?
Recreation.
Can you say more about that?
So I think a lot of people out there use it to party, and I'm kind of conflicted with it currently.
We can just have a bit more volume for the group. Just the question is the use of teacher plants recreationally.
We would say it's not in your best interest at all. That it is a sacred thing that is meant to be treated in a sacred manner. And it's incidentally the same teachings, because sexuality is also a catalyst. It's also the same teachings we have about sexuality. Sexuality is good, it's open, it's loving, it can be any number of a million different ways and combinations, and there is no good and there is no bad, but it is a sacred energy that needs to be handled with respect and with care, because it does have a powerful effect. Anything that has power is really quite simple. If you think about just swing a wrecking ball, for God's sake, okay? You take this wrecking ball and you swing it one way and it smashes that wall down. What the hell do you think happens when it comes back this way? If it has power in one direction, it has power in the other direction. And so you'd best have that wrecking ball under control. And the best way to have that under control, and it is through destruction, by the way, that creation happens. Always. So the best way to have control of that wrecking ball is to treat it with respect and care and be wise about how you handle it.
Do you have any knowledge or experience when it comes to like ayahuasca and like iboga or any of that?
Probably way less than you have. I can only speak to my own personal experience with ayahuasca, which is very tiny, and that's it. I am not, I don't facilitate teacher plant workings because I've never trained to do so.
Would you recommend it? I mean, like, have you heard that they're a lot better, like that experience is more positive experience than negative?
I've heard both, and so I really couldn't say. I would say that it depends on the teacher and the circumstance and what's around you and what your intuition tells you. You know, that you trust your intuition about it. And if it says turn around and walk the other way, please turn around and walk the other way. But if you feel like it's open to you, and the one vision that I had that I can share with you was a Mayan pyramid, a small Mayan pyramid, somewhat sunk in the ground, and out came this woman of vines, and she opened her arms and said, "Come." And this was an ayahuasca working, which is a vine. So I went into that pyramid, and I don't remember what happened after that. But what I do know is when I came back out, I had been awakened about 60% more to the energy of the plant world. And now I'm using plants in my medicine work in ways that I never have before. Not mind-altering plants, which is healing plants. Essential oils, the plants that Sangomas use here, I'm learning more and more about those. And my diet is changing, and the way that I approach food and approach plants is changing. So it's made it a fundamental shift somewhere below my conscious mind. So it was a very positive experience because it was healthy, because it was well managed. Yeah.
Mary, could you share something about tobacco? Because I know it's a sacred plant that you really know something about, and I'm sure the group would love to hear.
Tobacco is it's a grandfather plant. We use cornmeal or corn pajo to represent the grandmothers. Corn pollen is actually what we like to use, but you can't get corn pollen anymore. So we use cornmeal instead. Tobacco is a grandfather plant, so it's male primarily, and it's used to carry our prayers to spirit. So we place prayers into pinches of tobacco, and we use them in prayer ties, we use them as giveaways, we use them in the medicine pipe. And I'll tell you a story of a little boy I knew named Ian, and he was watching his mother do a pipe. He was like 3. And he was sitting on the floor, and he was just kind of, you know, on his back, you know how little kids are, rolling back and forth and playing with his feet and looking up at the sky. And at one point she stopped, and she said, "What are you looking at, Ian?" He got still, and he said, "The sparklies." And she said, "What sparklies?" And he said, "All the blue and white sparklies that are coming in. Every time you say something else, Mama, more sparklies come in." And she said, "Okay." And she just went on with her pipe ceremony. And as it came time, then she finished the calling in. He rolled over and he got up like this, and he peered and he goes, "Look, they're all in there." He could see spirit coming in, going into the tobacco and being put into the medicine pipe. And then when she lit the pipe and smoked it, he could see them leave again. It was really quite lovely. Yeah.
My question was basically around, firstly, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. My question is around don't know how to articulate this, but around, you spoke about how the trauma goes down the right side of the one side of the right side. That obviously manifests into, like you said, into receiving, so into possible mental illnesses. Then you said...
What I'm saying is that this moving down is is a signifier that mental illness has happened or is happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to articulate it as best I can.
Yeah.
So with trauma, in my own experience, I believe like it is a catalyst to enlightenment in a sense. However, it might be dark enlightenment, so to speak, or however one would perceive it. If there's a tug of war between moving, so basically the zigzag that you're speaking about, if you're experiencing that tug of war, how do you find synergy to be like, okay, this is one side of your reality that you experience, but this is the part that you want to talk. Because basically trauma does sit in your realm of your reality. If that makes sense.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think what you're asking is how do you shift the movement of that?
Absolutely, that's exactly.
Breath is one of the most powerful ways. Breath and intention. Sit down, close your eyes, take deep breaths, and get calm in your body. And then use the power of your imagination. Use the power, it's your ability, my teacher used to call it your ability to image an entire nation. You know, use that to create the image in your mind of this, of it waking up, of it becoming active. Feel for it. If you actually work with it, you can begin to feel it like a little buzz. And you can also find them in other people. You can zero in and go, this is right there. So you feel that and breathe it across. So as you breathe in, let it get loose and relax. And then as you breathe out, let it move across. This could take quite a while and a fair amount of practice, okay? And what you want to do is get it at least to the center, and then if you were to truly take this on as a practice, you would want it here, which is called the place of no pity. And this is the place where you don't get sucked into self-pity or pity for other people, where you get put into empowerment, where you can look at someone and say, you're stuck in the dark and you're not ready to come out, and therefore I need to walk away until you're ready to come out. Or you can see, you're stuck, all you need is a hand, and I can offer it to you. But when they're down in the hole, you don't ever jump down in the hole with them. Because how are you then going to help them out? So does that answer your question?
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, there are other ways to do it, like with a crystal and other things for like emergency situations, but they don't hold. You know, that's just to help you if something, for example, if you've just seen something very, very traumatic, a horrible accident. If you happen to have someone, you've got your handy pocket shaman with you, they can take a crystal and move your SAP so that you are not nearly as traumatized.
Yeah.
Or you can learn, but the best way is to learn to move yourself.
Yeah.
That'll give you the most power. Yeah.
Possibly add to the question in that if you embrace your darkness, your trauma, only through embracing it, and I'm thinking now, there's a lot of, when you use teacher plants, you can have traumatic experiences, and by embracing the darkness, you can break through to the light. So if that makes sense, the duality of our nature, that there's the darkness or the trauma, there is the light of the enlightenment. So maybe just to answer her question is that to embrace that trauma and own it, all that trauma, we own it and say it's part of us and embrace it, and that can possibly
Okay, yes. Let me be really clear about something. Moving your SAP doesn't dissipate your trauma. It just makes you more able to deal with it. You don't move your SAP and now, oh, everything is light and love and flowers. Nope. You can see your trauma a whole hell of a lot more clearly than you ever saw it before.
Absolutely.
And it will make it easier for you to then embrace your trauma and work. So this is not something that masks symptoms. It's something that brings reality full. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I also have a question about the 11 steps of your SAP.
Yeah.
11 or 12?
It's actually 11, I remember.
Yeah, it's such a powerful image. I think we all feel it. like John mentioning the power of no pity, also to be seen as the solar plexus.
Yes.
In reference, and it's the same thing really. So obviously there's a connection there.
Mhm.
Also the heritage you mentioned that you follow, which takes into account Kabbalah and all these strands of knowledge. So I would like to hear about a bit more, if you have time, about those steps. And like, for instance, the heart. It sounded like quite an experience, but you never went into detail about it. How you open your heart, you know? You see?
Yeah.
But also, how does the medicine involved in that at all? Is it a traumatic knock? You would expect that your heart was to be broken. You're going to have to experience it all. You know? But not necessarily, everyone's different.
It isn't the trauma that you experience, it's how you respond to and how you handle the trauma that you experience. That's why different people can experience very similar traumas and have very different responses to them. So for example, my spiritual awakening came through the death of my child. I was 27 and I became pregnant, and I was also working as a midwife, so I was delivering everyone else's babies as well. And my baby was fine, we thought, until all of a sudden at 8 months and 2 weeks, he wasn't. And I went into the hospital and they did an ultrasound and he was dead. Bam. No reason, no explanation, there was nothing. They couldn't give me anything, you know. He had all the symptoms of a blood incompatibility except there wasn't one. So his heart just couldn't handle it and he stopped and he died. And so my labor was induced, and 4 days later he was born. And my entire world flipped upside down on its head. And it was through that trauma and through meeting the teacher that I worked with and who gave me a perspective on that trauma and helped me to turn it around and work with it in a way that changed everything for me. I always say it exploded everything I believed in. You know, you grow up as a child thinking, if I try to do the right things, then I'll be okay, right? God will take care of you. Even though I wasn't raised in a Christian family, my families were Baha'is, but I was still raised in a Christian culture. And so it was all around me all the time. Good stuff will be rewarded, bad stuff will be punished. I was good. I tried hard to be a good kid when I was, you know, most of the time. Well, okay, there was several years there where I wasn't. But anyway, I did my best, okay? And when I was pregnant, I tried very hard to take good care of myself. And yet my child died, and I was furious. I was furiously angry. And I threw out the idea of God. I threw out the idea of any religion whatsoever. And because there are, you know, every expletive in the world, I was absolutely freaking furious at the world. And everything became random. Anything could happen. I could drive off a bridge tomorrow and be dead. So why the hell do I care about anything? And when I started to come back around and I spoke to my teacher, I realized that what that gave me was the opportunity to rebuild my understanding of life consciously. Consciously. I could decide, I could pick and choose, I could determine. I could spirit determine and follow that path and design a life that actually was real for me, as opposed to the one that I had been programmed to accept all those years.
That's a very powerful experience.
It was very.
I can imagine, especially as a midwife already,
Mhm.
and a healer in a sense already, and then this double kind of thing that you obviously quit your job and you remained steadfast, or did you?
What I ended up doing immediately after actually was going into hospitals and coaching other women who were having dead babies. I did that for about 1.5 years.
Continue to expose the trauma. Yeah, wow.
Who else can coach them?
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going to do it all my life, but I knew I needed to do it for a while because I had needed someone so desperately, so I filled a need that I knew was there. And then after I felt I'd done my time at that, I said, okay, I'm moving on.
So then,
And I left that behind.
yeah. It was after the healing. Obviously.
It was
after
part of the healing. The healing was 7 years long.
Okay.
It was 7 years later that I sat in a sweat lodge and cried in gratitude for having had that experience because of what it did for my life, or what it made me.
So it's how you handle your trauma and how you stand with it, and then move your sack around. I'm still going to research. I'll research by myself those 12 steps.
11? 11, yeah, and you can find them in Castaneda, and you can find them in, I have business cards here, don't let me forget, because I always forget that kind of stuff. But I have them, so that you can contact me via email, and I can send you names of books, or let you know when I'm doing teachings here, or whatever, if you want that.
I would appreciate your teachings, yeah, but I'm fine otherwise. Thank you for
Yeah.
with your
Are there any other questions? Because I feel like we've skated very far away from plants, but... Yeah? Oh, yes?
This is far away from plants, but you did mention that you could tell us about your lineage, and I wanted to hear.
Okay. As I said, I trained in a lineage called the Sweet Medicine Way, or the Twisted Hairs lineage. This comes from teachers who formalized themselves into an organization around 1200 BC and have existed in one form or another since then. They are not people who are out in the collective that you will, well, you might run into them on the street, but you wouldn't know. There are 144 of them, and many of these teachers are in form and many of them are in spirit. But they live in that bridge place where that's not as important as the work that they do. So, can I, swear to you that yes, this is exactly what it is and how it is? No. But can I tell you that when I'm in a lodge or in deep ceremony and I call to them and I ask them to come, do they show up? Absolutely, they show up. And I'm not the only one who feels it. You'll see people look around like, did someone just come in the room? That's quite a presence and quite a strength. So that's the gist of the lineage that I trained in, and I did through old-fashioned apprenticeship, one-on-one with a specific teacher for 17 years. And then I left him and have worked on my own since that time. Is that enough?
Thank you. No,
No? Not enough. Again, I can give you book
Enough
names.
was enough.
I can give you book names if you're interested afterwards, all right? Okay. There was somebody else? No. Yeah.
So regarding these like spirits, do you feel that these spirits are like living beings from previous times, and that's like, the souls really do reincarnate and then come back? Do you feel that?
Here's the thing. Over the years, I've stopped trying to define it. I don't try to decide, is this an ancestor being necessarily, or is this... there was a time in my life when I felt very connected to the actual voice of the earth. And that was who spoke through me. And there have been other times when I feel more like it's ancestor guidance and lineage. There are times when I feel like it's the council that protect me and work with me and teach me all the time. But I don't try to decide, are they past lives or this or that. Time becomes sort of immaterial at a certain point.
So it's like a collective consciousness actually that just speaks.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also are taught that, within each of us we have many states of consciousness and many levels of attention. And so a great deal of the knowledge that often people who channel or, and I'm doing this for a reason, I'll explain in a second. Because I don't mean to demean anyone. But a lot of the time when people are bringing through information, it's their own information. It's things that they know in their own higher selves. It's their own ability to tap into the collective subconscious and unconscious. It's not like there's a great being standing there telling them, this is what you need to do, da-da-da-da-da. There's simply a moment of alignment when you wake up and look around and smell the coffee, we would say in America. I don't know if that makes sense to you here. But yeah, when you just wake up and look at, this is reality. And you know what that is. And then we often make the mistake of trying to turn it into a religion, and then we get all screwed up. Yeah.
You mentioned how you would suggest that we should hug a tree.
Yes.
Yeah, which is I'm so for it. But I wanted to ask you, what other techniques are there that you may know of with connecting with a tree or with nature, besides by hugging, like if there's anything?
To connect with a tree? Yeah. Hmm?
The Dominorians, there was a doctor who's passed on now, but he did work with an amplifier, and he'd hook it up to the chestnut tree and put the electrodes on, and then each one of us would go up and hug the tree, and then the tree would sing through the amplifier our auric field, like we each have a signature note in the universe. So every single note, every time a different person went up, the music was totally different. And I know a lady, Heather Proudfoot in Cape Town, who's got his work and using his work at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And you can also learn to hear that without the amplifier. The other thing you can do, which is so simple, is go into a wooded area where you're safe and where you can talk out loud to a tree without getting thrown into a mental hospital. Okay? So you go out somewhere and sit with your back against the tree and face the south. And just ask the tree and ask the universe, who am I? And answers will usually come quick and short and simple. And they'll be different every time. Or sometimes you'll get the same answer 3-4 times in a row because the tree knows you're not getting what it wants you to get. So sit and ask, who am I? And then move to the next side of the tree, the west side of the tree, and say, and what am I here for? And go to the north side and say, what am I supposed to be doing? And then go to the east side and say, what's my vision? This tree will draw from the earth again and pull from the sky again. And like she said, like an amplifier, will feed through into your back and into your body. So the more you can let your body sort of melt right into the tree, the more that knowledge and wisdom will come in through. And you will be surprised, I would almost guarantee, if you try this a few times, you will end up surprised at how something so simple can become so profound. You go home and you start to journal on it, or paint about it, or write music about it, or whatever it is that you do that helps you to move, or meditate with it, whatever, and watch it grow. And it will, like a tree. It's amazing. Yeah?
Sorry, do those, when you ask who am I, is it associated with the different directions of the company?
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can pull that between Kurt and I, if we can pull that from our brains, and I'll write it up here before I leave tonight. Okay. Was there someone else? Yes.
We're in the southern hemisphere, and you come from the northern hemisphere.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We're all on one big planet.
South is still south.
Yeah. South is still south, north is still south, north, but yeah. And counterclockwise and clockwise, we still work the same in the southern and the northern hemisphere. Yeah. Anything else?
Maybe what I can suggest, Mary, is maybe what we should do quickly is just do the lucky draw, and then maybe we could ask you to do some more music for us.
Yeah, I had a song specifically that I thought I would teach. All right, so I brought my drum, but all the songs I seem to want to sing are not drum songs. So, do we want to sing? Does everybody feel like singing?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. It's a very simple song, but it's a very beautiful and very heartwarming song. So it goes like this. Tall trees, warm fire, soft winds, deep water. I hear you all around me. I feel you in my heart. That's it. Tall trees, deep waters, strong winds, warm fires. I messed you up. I hear you all around me. I feel you in my heart. Tall trees, warm fire. song as an invocation. Music is a powerful invocation. So as you say each one of these, call it in to you, call it into your being, so that it can warm you on the way home. Tall trees, warm fire, strong winds, deep waters, I hear you all around me, I